All right, guys, back here on Southeastern 14 with Max Barr. We continue our look at SEC basketball transfers this offseason. It's Kentucky's turn. It's like we've just been alternating between Arkansas and Kentucky these days, but
Yep.
we warned you guys that would be the case because those two teams had to fill pretty much entire rosters. And so we get back to Kentucky here on this go-around. Koby Brea joining the mix from Dayton. We're going to talk about what he brings to the table for Mark Pope and company. Before we do that, Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports this season. From MLB, golf, NBA, and NHL playoff stats, plus they have all the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams, so you can get the latest odds and lines, including team matchups, player props, odds on just about every sport out there. You know how you do it. You head over to their website today, and you can also use the mobile device to get on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. All right, Max, the newest addition for the Wildcats, Koby Brea from Dayton. A New York native, which I know Max is all in on that part of this thing. But, hey, you see it right there on your screen. The best three-point shooter in the country. And that's a nice addition for a Kentucky team that we saw certainly, offensively take a big step forward in that area last year. And so they're going to add a big-time shooter to the mix here in Koby Brea, someone who, again, you look at just the numbers, and it is – I know Max is going to go through them, but, hey, this guy can light it up from three, 50% three-point shooter on 201. He went 100 of 201 from three last year. Remarkable. And that is what Mark Pope is going to love as a guy who, as we said, Max, comes over from BYU, who had no problems shooting the three last year.
I've been waiting for this video. I'm excited about this one.
This might be your favorite one so far.
I know. This is up there. So normally I start one way. I'll start with a different way this time. A little quote from Mark Pope himself, the man himself, after Brea committed. By the numbers, Koby Brea is the most efficient mid to high major player in college basketball in the last decade. He's the best returning shooter in college basketball. Koby is dangerous man. Great human with an incredible family, will be a key in allowing us to play the style of basketball here that we love the most. I know coach speak this, coach speak that. That is exactly what you're getting in Koby Brea. His top five list, Blake, before I dive into any numbers, was probably the best top five list I've ever seen of any recruit ever. UConn, Duke, Kansas, North Carolina, and Kentucky. I mean,
Blue
come
Blood
on.
Brea. That's what we're going to call him. Triple B.
Brea. There we go. Yep. I'm excited about this one, Blake.
I can understand why. We dig the three ball here at Southeastern 14. And, man, like you think back at even some of like the greatest shooters that Kentucky has had throughout the program's history. Like, it's still hard to find numbers like this. Like, you're just not going to – I pulled up Jeff Shepard's, actually, while we were looking here. I was thinking, man, Jeff Shepard was such a good shooter. He was, but, like, his numbers still were, like, he's a 38% shooter in 98. And so I'm like, this guy shot 50% from three last year on this many attempts. Like, this is not a guy who just took 40 attempts and made 20 of them, right? He shot 200-plus and made 100 of them. Like, that's it. And so, I mean, we kind of joke, but like I am excited too about this guy because you really think about, and look, we always try to tie this into finally, like when we were doing some of the early Kentucky guys, we're like, well, we don't know what else to say because he's the only player on the roster. I think we were talking about Amari Williams. We're like, all right, we can kind of look at some of the things he can do, but we don't know how who's going to be around him. But now when you start to see what each of these guys are bringing and how they kind of combine together, I mean, this guy, I think you look at it and it's just, this is perfect because like you said, look at all the schools that wanted him. I mean, you're talking about a guy who is going to be on the floor a lot, and Mark Pope is going to draw up some of the best stuff you'll see probably to get this guy even more open shots. Because keep in mind too, like last year at Dayton, he's taken 8 field goals a game, 6 of those are three-pointers. Get this guy 10 threes a game. Like, let's get him No, sorry, I almost said the name, Max. I almost said the name. No. We don't speak of that name here on a Kentucky basketball video. Give me a certain guy's attempts that we've seen recently in college basketball that Kentucky fans would have loved to not seen, but except for their team, you see what I'm saying? I almost said the JG word, and I'm
was
glad I
close.
didn't. That was close.
Okay, so let's contextualize some of these numbers here. Okay, just how insane was this season? Okay, so I dove in. Bear with me here. So I went to Bart Torvik and I filtered the whole nation to show 45% or better three-point shooters with at least 100 attempts. That's all. Just 100 attempts at least, and you're shooting north of 45%. Only 13 players in the country achieved this. Okay. Brea had 201 attempts. The next highest, number 2, was Cade Tyson with 172 attempts, 29 less attempts than Brea. Okay. And then for another reference, someone you might be familiar with, Reed Shepard was up on that list. He only shot the ball from 3 144 times, 57 less attempts than Brea. Just absurd. And then I did another category. I just said, okay, who has shot up to over 200 threes? I did that. Is that how crazy is shooting 200 threes? Well, 141 players did it last year, attempted 200 threes. Brea shot 49.8%. Number 2 on that list, Cam Spencer of the national champion UConn Huskies, 44%. 5% lower than Brea as the number 2 guy on that list. Just absurd. Absurd. Pope wasn't lying when he said the last decade. Yeah, one of the best shooters in the last decade. Unbelievable.
Yeah, Dayton, and that's what I think is interesting. If you look back at Mark Pope last year at BYU, you look at Dayton and what they did last year. Like 38% of their points last year from 3. That's top 25 nationally. They shot 40% from 3. That was 3rd nationally. And so you can see like how, offensive. And keep in mind too, Dayton played at a much slower pace. Like they were more methodical in terms of how they went about things. But if you pull up BYU, which I'm going to do now, I mean, we talked about it, right? Like they're top 65 in average offensive possession length. They got 41% of their points from 3 last year, which was 2nd nationally. Shot at about 35%. But, again, I think this is like, you look at the way that Dayton played last year, how much they relied on the 3. Now you certainly know this is the guy Kentucky's going to rely on for the 3 this year. It's very exciting just to see kind of, I think, the mindset of Mark Pope and how he's built this roster. I think this was a no doubt about, like, he was going to get a guy like this, whether it was Koby Brea or not. And like you said, problem was if it wasn't him, you weren't going to find many players like this just based on the numbers and the effectiveness of how he shot it last year.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up a tweet real quick here from the one and only John Fendler. Some great stuff. He's always posting synergy stuff, a subscription that I do not have. But here we go. Contrary to how he's been portrayed, Brea is not just a catch and shoot guy. Legit skills as a ball handler in pick and roll and can beat closeouts. 38% of his shots were in pick and roll or off screens. Contrast to a pure catch and shoot guy like Illinois' Luke Goody, who only had 5% of his shots off pick and roll. And I'll pull this picture up right here. Here's Koby Brea's synergy profile. You look at percent of the time for what type of shots he's taken. 40% it's a spot up. 23.6% he's in the pick and roll. 15% or so he's off a screen. 9%'s in transition. You name whatever way you want to get this guy a shot, and you can do it in this Mark Pope offense. He's not just like you're going to stick him on the wing or in the corner. You throw it to him, and like Michael Porter Jr. on the Nuggets, it touches his hands, he's shooting it. No. He's very versatile in his game and how he gets his shots off. It's not just pure catch and shoot. So I thought that was significant.
You think Kirk Reesa and Lamont Butler are going to set like career records for assist totals just to this guy, like just to Koby Brea? Like, you think that's possible? I think it's certainly possible. But no, you make a good point. Like, again, he's going to be able to do it in a variety of ways, and I think that's where the Mark Pope aspect of this comes back into it because, like we said, the X's and O's aspect and everything that Mark Pope can do there. I'm excited just to see what he cooks up for someone like this, right? Because this is his kind of guy. And I think just seeing what he cooks up offensively, not just for Brea, but everybody else too. But specifically when you have a knockdown, just, sniper from three like this. Like you said, you understand you don't just have to do it. All right, he's got to come off a screen, catch and shoot, but like there are so many ways within this offense he's going to be able to get those shots. And yeah, like I think that's exciting. Guy, like we said, coming off of playing 29 minutes a game last year. He started 21 of 113 at Dayton. But like we said, you look at the percentages. Takes a nice jump last year to average 11 points per game, average about 4 rebounds a game. But he really is like, man, he's going to be someone who's going to hit some really tough shots, and he is going to be like that. Like he's going to be like that guy who just goes on streaks by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's going to be exciting too. Like, you think about Rupp Arena and how loud this place can get. I can already envision it now, like a Reggie Miller-esque run where all of a sudden this guy just goes down, hits 3 straight threes on, back-to-back-to-back possessions, and that place just comes unglued. So that's the kind of player that I think Kentucky fans are getting here.
And check out his highlight. Watch his highlight, and you'll see kind of what the excitement's all about. Yeah, this guy takes threes with a hand an inch away from his face and just buries it. Just buries it. I mean, you take 201 threes. Not all of them are going to be wide open. It's a lot of threes. But real quick before we end, there was I went on just the Dayton page, the team page, read up Koby Brea's bio. Unreal how tough this kid is. So at the end of the 2022-23 season, not this last one, but 2 years ago, played through stress fractures the entire year, was kind of on and off injured, playing through pain. He gets rods surgically implanted in both tibias the spring of 23, okay? And he still went to practicing his shot in a wheelchair at practice. I love that. I love that. Koby Brea, get me fired up already. Come on.
Well, there you go. We want to run through a wall for Koby Brea, as you can tell. And so no one else do that. It's not advised, but hey, you should be fired up if you're Kentucky fans.
Yeah.
Like we said, an elite shooter, and I think that's exactly what you're looking for in this kind of new regime under Mark Pope and the way they want to play. So I think a great addition for the Cats here, and of course, we'll be talking about all of them. We've already done videos on multiple. We still got Kirk Reese to get to. We still got Andrew Carr to get to. We know Kentucky fans. We're catching up. We're getting to everybody. No, great order we're going in here, but we're doing our best. But we appreciate you guys watching as always. Hit that subscribe button. A lot more football, baseball stuff on the way too. So thanks as always for watching, and we'll talk to you again here soon at Southeastern 14.